Well, hello everybody. Thanks for tuning in to Self-Publishing Insiders with Drafted Digital. This one's really with Drafted Digital because what we got is some of our A team here. There's me. I'm sort of the B team, just pet and clean up in the background. But we have Jim Esvito, who's our head of business communications and PR, and we have Tara Robinette, who is Tara. What's the specific title?
Director of Operations.
Director of Operations. So yeah, I butcher that all the time. So anyway, you got us. You got your opportunity. You can ask us anything you want in the comments. However, specifically, what we're talking about today are subscription-based reading services, and you may be familiar with some of these. The list that we deal with is pretty short. We will get you to Scribd and Kobo Plus. And there's a couple others that are sort of library-ish that kind of qualify for this. But you may be more familiar with services like Kindle Unlimited. And what are some others? Tara, you know them all.
I only know what we do. I know Scribd, I know Kobo Plus, and I know a little bit about a Kindle Unlimited. And of course, we're wanting to bring this up because of the big announcement that Kobo Plus had just recently for all the new territories, including UK and US, where you can now get your books into their subscription service into.
Yeah, and tacking onto that, and this was something we did just for you, dear authors, is if you are a Smashwords author, you are now able to contribute to that Kobo Plus library worldwide in all the regions that they serve. So that's the big new announcement as of like the past week or so. And we're really excited about that. And that's what prompted us to want to talk about this. There's a couple of other things. There's some little things that have popped up in this space that we're going to bring up. But let's talk a little bit about Kobo Plus. Do we know what regions, Tara, Kobo Plus currently serves?
Yes. Australia, Belgium, Canada, France, Italy, Netherlands, New Zealand, Portugal, United Kingdom, and the United States.
So that's I counted 10 markets. Is that right?
You're correct.
I only have 10 fingers, so if it's more than that, I missed it.
You are correct.
10.
That was more than I thought. So my notes aren't not up to date. So thanks for that, Tara.
Well, and you can get a complete list. I mean, we've got I believe we actually outline exactly what storefronts or what regions we hit. If you look at the FAQ on drafteddigital.com, and we're always adding new marketplaces. So for anyone watching or listening in the future, we may actually have quite a few more for that sort of thing. Now, we don't have any control over where Kobo goes, but we're always adding new places, new regions, and things to our offering. We got some stuff coming up that I think everyone's going to be excited about. Now, so Kobo Plus, let's talk a little bit about how this works. So here's my understanding, and the two of you can correct me if I'm wrong. But first, before I do that, I want to remind everybody, please ask your questions in the comments. If you've got a question, that makes this show go a lot smoother because otherwise it's just us talking all the time. Nobody wants that. Yeah. So ask your questions in the comments, and if we can't answer it, we do have folks who are drifting around in there. One of those folks, by the way, is the birthday girl, Alyssa Dollinger, who this is her, I think it's her 21st birthday today. So we want to wish her a happy birthday. So happy birthday. And okay, so how these work. So let's start specifically with Kobo Plus, since that's the first one we've mentioned. Here's my understanding, and correct me when I'm wrong. So the user, the reader, can subscribe to Kobo Plus, and I believe that the rate now is $9.99.
There's two separate rates: $9.99 for ebooks, or $12.99 for ebooks and audio.
Okay, see, that is cool. So yeah, so for $12.99 you can get the whole package. That's Kobo Plus, right? That's Kobo Plus. Okay. Now, if you are an author, how does it work, Tara, for how authors get paid on this?
Okay, so the Kobo Plus is a little bit more complicated than like Scribd. It is similar to Kindle Unlimited, where the payout depends on the quantity of books enrolled, the quantity of authors enrolled, and the number of books read. So it's kind of a divvied out amongst everyone involved system, which is a little bit different than how Scribd does theirs, but it's very similar to how Kindle Unlimited does their subscription program. So for those who are familiar with the Kindle Unlimited program, that's what you are used to. But the biggest difference is you are not required to be exclusive like you are with Kindle Unlimited. You're allowed to have your books wide anywhere you want your books published, and you can still be in the Kobo Plus program.
See, and that is a huge advantage because, for those, I'm going to assume that everyone's pretty much familiar with KU, but just in case, Kindle Unlimited is Amazon's program. Part of, when you distribute through KDP Select, you can actually enroll your books in that program, and your book has to remain exclusive to Amazon for 90 days at a time. And you actually have to, go in and tell it you want them withdrawn, or it'll automatically renew that. Now the advantage of that is that Amazon has this, what they call their global fund. It's, several $million, and they pay you by page read in that program. And it's usually a little less than like 5/100th of a cent or something. I know it's something like that. It's not a lot per page. And in fact, when you tally it all up for your total book, you're actually making quite a bit under the your asking price, your retail price for that book. But a lot of people like it because Amazon does promote that quite a bit. There's all kinds of like bonuses and things that you can get. So there are some advantages to it that Amazon uses to attract people in. But we're sort of against that whole idea of exclusivity, because I don't think anybody got into this business hoping that they could write books that only people who read on Amazon would read. So, but the Kobo Plus program is similar in the way that it pays out and the way that it functions. But there's two things about it that I think trump the Amazon KU program. One of those is the lack of exclusivity. The other is they're actually reaching regions that Amazon currently doesn't reach. So you can actually discover other pockets of readers.
One thing I want to clear up real quick, Kevin, I'm sorry to step on your toes, but
no, you're fine.
For authors who may not know, if I want to sign up for Kobo Plus, do I need to be in Kobo first? Do I need to sign up for that retailer first, or can I just go directly to Kobo Plus? Or if I'm in Kobo Plus, does that automatically through Drafted Digital allow me to be on Kobo Plus, or do I have to do that separately?
Right. Are you asking or are you telling?
I'm asking.
He's asking.
Okay.
And he's asking you, Tara, because Kevin probably doesn't know.
I just notched myself down from A team to like B- or C+.
You have to have your book published to Kobo to get into Kobo Plus. So you can't just go straight to Kobo Plus. You need to be at Kobo to get there. But that kind of segues me into a very, very common question that we get in customer support. Is Kobo Plus sales siphoning off my Kobo sales? So I could be making, I don't know, $2.99 for a sale of my book, or I can be making 50 cents in Kobo Plus over a period of so many reads. Is one somehow siphoning my sales off the other? That is something that we have looked into extensively, and we've discussed with Kobo as well. We asked them to kind of track down those numbers because that is a concern for authors. What we have found, what all of our data has shown us, is they are two separate readers. A Kobo reader is not a subscriber, and a subscriber is not a ebook buyer. They're two separate readers. So you're kind of reaching two separate markets. You're not going to see one siphon sales from the other. You're going to be reaching a new demographic of readers who either only like to buy and own their ebooks on their device, or those who prefer to be subscribers and filter through a ton of books at a time.
That, by the way, is basically true of the subscription service model in general. Like we've had, I've had authors talk to me about it, and they're leery of these subscription services. One of the things that people say, it's pretty common, is that it's devaluing the books. Like it's reducing what people are willing to pay for the books, which I don't think is true, because it is two different audiences.
Yes.
This group of readers is not going to go buy your book. They're just
You're
not.
absolutely right. They are subscribers.
Yeah. Yeah. They want that deal. They want, they want access, anytime access. They're probably pretty voracious in their reading habits. And so this is a perfect thing for them, especially on the audiobook side. These people will tear through audiobooks. So it's a way to capture revenue from a group of readers that you otherwise would not ever have any access to and would never make any money from.
You're
That's
giving
exactly
your readers
how
choices.
we describe it.
Yeah. More affordability, more accessibility, and even more convenience in some cases.
You're right.
So let's talk now a little bit about Scribd, because that's our second retail subscription service that we support. So their model is effectively very similar, but they started life as a document sharing service. So they have some features that Kobo Plus doesn't have, but I'm a subscriber of Scribd as well as an author contributing there. I really enjoy it because I can queue up a bunch of audiobooks and things. I use it primarily for audio. It has its own built-in player, and so when you grab a book, you can, and it'll resume from where you left off. All the key features. But I'm frequently finding books there that I would otherwise have to pay quite a bit of money for. And so that accessibility wise, it's been a great tool, but it does ebooks, audiobooks, documents, and it also will do magazines and podcasts and music. Yeah, music, sheet music, which was a weird one to discover. That's not one we come across a lot in our little world, but that's an interesting thing, because if you are a musician, or if you're just starting out, you just like to, it's a hobby or whatever. I mean, having access to sheet music is pretty handy. So, but let's address, there is a kind of elephant in the room when it comes to Scribd, or at least a perceived elephant in the room. It turns out to not actually be a thing, but recently there's been a little bit of controversy and drag with the idea that, and I think it's primarily they're talking about AI stuff, is scraping Scribd. And there may be other things doing that. That's the rumor, but the reality is much different. And Tara, you had a conversation this morning. I think you're probably best to sum this up. What's actually happening there?
Well, I think what we have all learned is Scribd started out as a document sharing site, and that's literally its birth was to share documents. It evolved into both a bookstore and a subscription service, and then it just rolled into subscription service. So I think there is this stigma from way back when it was a document sharing site. The organizers have put so many different things in place to ensure that copyrights are honored and valid. But that is a concern that has been brought up, at least to customer support, quite a few times because of how it started. It's no longer that. It is now a legit site that authors can upload their content to. It's a trustworthy site. Drafted Digital did extensive vetting before we ever added them as a vendor, because we'd heard those same rumors. So of course we all wanted to look into it as well. And it's a quality site with quality content. And I don't think anyone is having to deal with the infringement issues that we saw when it was just a document share.
Sure. And going back in time, they were really good at making it a document sharing service at the time. And it was ridiculously easy to share documents. So they just got this deluge of documents coming in. But going back 10 years, when Smashwords signed their agreement with Scribd, there was some of that same talk going on. So I think we signed the agreement in December of 2013, if I remember correctly. And then in January, Mark Coker, Smashwords founder, sat down with some of the Scribd executives and some best-selling authors to talk about what was happening there And then I think it was just 4 months later, Scribd announced their Book ID program, which will take a look at the digital fingerprints of any new content that's loaded onto Scribd to ensure that it is legit. So they've got this whole system there that's there to safeguard your books.
You know, now this is one of our top money-making sites for authors worldwide. So the Scribd is right there in competition with all of the big sellers, Apple, Kobo, all of the big sellers. They do very, very well for our authors who are wide.
Yep.
Yeah, I actually, it's been interesting to me as an author. Like I actually see you know, it's not like a deluge of money, but you know, I do get revenue from books on Scribd, both for my ebooks and for audiobooks. But audiobooks generally outpace the ebooks for me. Like I think Scribd, I think, may actually be much more of an audiobook service for most readers than an ebook service. But it is nice to be able to grab both, you know, without it costing you extra money. You know, now they don't do like a whisper sync or anything, to my knowledge. I mean, I've never seen it. Maybe they have a feature I don't know about, but just having the ability to, you know, I've listened to this. I know I'm on chapter 7, so I'll just open chapter 7 in the ebook, and you know, since I can't listen right now, I'll read or whatever. So yeah, that's been pretty nice. Now we should point out the document sharing service is still part of Scribd, but it's not included. Like the ebook retail side and the audiobook retail side is a separate piece. They don't cross streams. There's no cross contamination. So if someone is uploading something on the document side that maybe is untoward or whatever, you know, they'll presumably catch that and remove it. But you don't have to worry about your books showing up in some like downloadable PDF form or whatever.
No, they're locked in the app, the Scribd reading app. So they are secure in the ebook format.
Yep. Now, when you close out your Scribd subscription, you lose access to the books and things that you've downloaded, right?
Yes, that's correct. Do you know if that's true for KU?
So on KU, if you have downloaded a KU book, well, that's a good question, actually. Because
the way I understand it, I think if you purchase a book through KU, it's yours to keep if you cancel. Yes. But if you've rented that book, or if you borrowed the book, then you don't get to keep it.
Right.
Okay, and that's true for all of these so far.
Yeah.
So Scribd and Kobo Plus.
That's the way I understand it.
But I know that Scribd will give you so much time. So if Kevin, you're the author and you decide you're going to remove this from the service, but I've just rented the book, I'm given so many days, like 30 days, to finish reading the book.
I'm going to tell you, there are people who, so I took every single one of my books out of KU like a couple of years ago, and I still get page reads from people who downloaded it, you know, years ago.
That's correct. And that's correct. That's true for Kobo Plus as well. We often have that question of, I delisted from Kobo Plus. How am I still getting sales? Every additional page read for that book from a previous subscriber who borrowed that book, you're going to get paid for those reads.
And that is good news, not bad news.
That's really cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I'm learning so much today.
I really like that as a feature because and as a benefit, honestly, because there are people, and I think I'm probably one of them, who will download books in KU with no intention of reading them right away.
Me too.
And so if I come back to that book, you know, a year later and start reading it, you know, suddenly the author is getting paid for those page reads.
And that's only fair. I mean, the authors should be paid for their work. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the same is true for Scribd. There are so many times where I've gone back in the Scribd app and I see this book that's open, and I'm like halfway through it. I'm like, oh my God, I totally forgot I was working my way through this book.
Yeah. It'll remind you too. I like that about Scribd. We'll say, hey, do you want to continue listening to or reading this book X by Kevin Tomlinson or whatever? And it'll prompt you. So I think we definitely discussed this about Kobo Plus, but I'm not sure we discussed how authors get paid in Scribd. Maybe we went over it a little, but
Scribd is actually paid out just like any of Drafted Digital's other ebook vendors. You make your, it's approximately 60% of the list price per book read past the free preview. So they make 20% available as a free preview. Once the reader, the subscriber, has read past the free preview, you're credited for a sale.
Okay. That makes sense. And, you know, I'm personally okay with that, like that model, because Scribd also does some things sort of internally where they're kind of promoting you every now and then. Like they'll recommend a book. They have a recommendation engine. So if you've read a lot of, you know, Ernie Dempsey's books, they may recommend Kevin Tomlinson to you or whatever, or vice versa.
Similar content, right?
Yeah. So, and that's actually how I've discovered several authors through that service. So now, what about when you decide you no longer want to contribute to the Scribd library or the Kobo Plus library? Like, what's the withdrawal process like?
Easy. I mean, it's as easy as any of the other vendors. At least through Drafted Digital, it's submitting a delist request, and you can pick and choose your ebook vendors. So you're not required to be in any of these vendors. There's no 90-day window, none of that nonsense. You log in, you remove the vendor, and that delist request gets submitted to that vendor immediately. It can take them a couple of days to get the book out of the catalog, but we're going to start that process as soon as you tell us you no longer want your book enrolled.
Yeah. Now, ideally, you wouldn't remove it anyway. I mean, there's no, you know, I'm not going to say there's no reason or no justifiable reason to remove it, but you know, in most cases, authors we can be a funny group. You know, I'll hear from authors all the time who will say, you know, I'm not selling any copies on Kobo or Barnes and Noble, and so I'm just going to delist from that service, which makes zero sense to me. You know,
just guaranteed zero sales for yourself.
Yeah,
exactly right.
You're definitely not going to make any money if you don't have the book available for sale. So,
but also remember, it takes a month or more for us to get those numbers. Kobo Plus sales numbers and reports come in slower than the Kobo numbers do. It just takes longer to do the calculations and gather all that data. So it comes in a little bit slower. But I've had authors who will delist, you know, a week or two into because they're not seeing those numbers. Well, give it time. It can take a good 30, 60 days before you actually get to see your total. So give it a little bit of time, let it ride, and just wait and see. You may be quite surprised. And like Jim pointed out, you're guaranteed no sales if you're delisting. So, you know, you might as well.
That's good general advice too, Tara, because a lot of authors who are moving who have been in KU exclusively since day one of their author careers, who start to go wide, start to panic really quickly if they're not getting any sales wide within a couple of weeks. And they think, oh my gosh, what have I done in my career? I've just tanked myself. But I think they learn over time, if you give it 30 days, 60 days, a couple of quarters, they start to gain that traction. And then they're like, oh, okay, I get
the
this
important
now.
bit is there's no downside to keeping your book in the program or in that retailer. It's not going to cost you anything. There's no, you know,
there's no upfront fees.
Nothing like that. So you're safe putting in there. And that's the thing that we talk about quite a bit with authors at conferences and coaching and that sort of thing. You know, your strategy in wide is very different than an exclusive program like Amazon KU. It's, you know, it's all long tail. It's all, you know, you have to look down the road, because if you're not prepared to kind of slog through, you're really not going to see anything. But the reason you would want to do it is if you are locked into Amazon, then you spend all that time, energy, and effort. All your marketing effort goes towards building a specific audience for a specific retailer. So that if you ever do decide you want to go wide later, now you're starting from zero. Like, you don't have readers on Kobo or Barnes and Noble or Scribd. So it's, you know, it's better. Maybe you don't make as much money as fast up front, but you're far better off to start from the beginning with a wide strategy than you are to go exclusive and take the quote unquote easy money. Because let me tell you, that easy money disappears sometimes. Like all that stuff you start to count on is like, this month they've changed the way the algorithm works, and so they're no longer recommending my books, and so that stuff happens.
I was going to just add on to that, Kevin. And if you've got 85, 95% of your sales all coming from a single vendor, then are you truly an independent author? You're a dependent author on that one retailer. And like as Kevin says, if those algorithms change or something funky happens.
Yeah, I like that. You go from being an indie author to a D author. I just want to remind everybody, if you've got questions now, if you're listening to this down the road or watching it on YouTube, if you're on YouTube, pop a question in the comments. We will eventually we get flagged by those, so we can answer those for you. If you're listening on a podcast, you can do the same thing. Just reach out to us at support@draftdigital.com if you have questions, or go to the Draft Digital website and you'll find all kinds of ways to reach out to us. But for those of you who are live, lucky you, you can actually pop your question in the comments right now, and either we or Alyssa will answer those questions for you. I don't have any questions yet, but I do have a couple of comments. This one comes in from Easy Graphics on YouTube. Love it that there's no downside. Can't complain about that. LOL.
And that's true.
Weird to read the LOL. Yeah.
I mean, it is free services. It's a additional revenue source, and it's an additional reader base.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I have a quick question from an author's perspective.
Okay.
If I'm publishing my book and let's say Scribd wants to show is going to show the first 20% as a free sample, as an author publishing through my Draft Digital dashboard, do I have to manually go in and say, make the first 20% of my ebook a free sample, or is that something that Scribd takes care of on their end? How do I do that as an author?
Scribd takes care of that on their end. It's all set up automatically. So there's nothing you have to do, no additional steps.
Okay. Easy peasy.
Yeah. I like no additional steps. I'm going to pop this is an actual question this time from Easy Graphics. D2D print question. Can libraries order paperbacks if our books are in D2D print?
Absolutely. Any library, any bookstore, any vendor that has access to the Ingram print network can get your book onto their shelves.
And that is a whole other marketing initiative. You should be, the thing that people don't think about is, everyone's gets excited about the idea of getting their book into, say, a bookstore on a bookshelf. Those stores aren't going to purchase your book if no one's heard of you or no one's requesting your book. So the same is true for libraries. What you have to do is adopt a strategy of marketing to those groups, and it's a little different than marketing directly to a reader. Now you can do it sort of vicariously, market to readers and ask them to go to the library and request your book. I mean, you can do that, and that's very helpful. So if you do have a library in mind, I mean, my recommendation is to target library by library in different regions, but find a way to sweeten the deal for them. Offer them, reach out to them and market your book. Pull together some materials. You can print things out on your printer if you want and mail it to them. But like a one sheet about your book and about you as an author. But if you can do things like, offer to come and do like a talk, in the library, and you can do things like that, and they will often consider that for their community outreach programs.
Yeah.
And if they're going to have you in, they're probably going to order at least one of your books. So little things like that. Just get really creative with it on the library side.
Yeah, you might you might be really surprised if you go into, like, say, Google Maps and you type in public libraries from your home address. And you'll see the circle like within 5 miles, 10 miles. You'll be surprised how many libraries are so close to your home.
Yeah.
And for those who want more info on that, Kevin has put out several blog posts to check our blog. We in customer support direct people to the blog because he's got so many resources out there right now that guide authors on marketing to libraries. Yeah.
It's there's an art to it. Marketing is is an interesting game because your technique changes based on your audience. I'm going to pop this comment up from Alyssa because this is in regards to Scribd. She says, I didn't know it started as a document sharing site, and I've been in this business for 10 plus years. I'm going to confess that I didn't know it started that way either until yesterday.
I knew because when we started to look at Scribd and offer it to our authors, we had to learn and research and find out the history behind. And so that's how I got there.
Yeah. We have, this is another print related question. I should have known we'd get plenty of print questions. What information should we be giving bookstore owners / libraries when we approach them to get them to purchase our books for their location? I think this is in regards to the marketing thing I said earlier. So if you were going to make like a one sheet about your book, you'd want, you know, a synopsis of the book, and you want to kind of keep that short and sweet, but, you know, put some drama in there. Give them, don't tell them what happens, tell them the experience they're going to have when they read the book. Then put a little blurb about yourself, you know, highlight like your accomplishments. If you've won awards for that book or any book, if you have spoken, if you speak at events, you know, you can kind of pad this out with any life experience that could be relevant to you as an author. You can include that in there, but, you know, also again, keep that kind of short. You're looking to create something like on one, like the front side of one sheet of printer paper. Put a picture of your book, a little headshot. You know, if you go to Canva, you can, I don't think there's templates specifically for, you know, author one shot pages or whatever, but, you know, you can build a flyer or something, use one of their templates and just replace the stuff with your book cover and your face. If you are a D2D author and you use D2D print, by the way, on the final stages before you submit your book for publication distribution, that we give you a little 3D graphic of your book, and it's on a transparent PNG, so it actually is, it doesn't have a background or anything. It's just your book. It's like a little stack, real cool looking, and kind of demonstrates what the book looks like. You can grab that graphic for free and drop that into Canva and put that on your one sheet. So,
yeah. In terms of, just real quickly, in terms of marketing specifically to libraries, it pays to understand how the libraries and librarians work specifically. So they actually want to carry books from local authors. But in addition to just going in there and saying, you know, hello, Miss Librarian, I'm a local author, can you please carry my book? Understand that they work by curating these books and ordering these books from catalogs like from Overdrive or Baker and Taylor and others to whom Drafted Digital distributes. So you can go on there and let them know that I'm a local author. My books are distributed in the Overdrive catalog. Would you consider carrying my book?
Yeah. The trick to marketing, by the way, is you want to provide all the reasons why someone should. That's the goal of marketing. Make it easier for them. Make it easy for them. Make it easy to find. You want to be in all the places where your potential reader is, and you're talking to them in their language, and you want to give them the reason, tell them the experience they're going to have with the book. You can tell someone about what your book is about, but have you had conversations like that? Like, that's the most boring conversation. Well, my book is about this guy who wakes up and he's, you know, got a cockroach body, you know, or whatever. And that can be kind of intriguing, but what you find is it takes paragraphs and pages to tell someone what the book is about. But if you can tell them what experience they're going to have, you can entice them in just a paragraph or two.
You just dropped a gem, by the way, Kevin. You said put your books in all the places where readers go.
Yeah. I
mean, to make your books more findable, put your books in all the places where readers go to find books.
Yeah. That's right. And readers like libraries. A lot of readers like libraries. And it's a different audience. You're not cannibalizing your retail audience by doing that, because people who check books out from the library weren't likely to buy the book either. That's the thing you got to keep in mind, is what you're aiming for is, and this is the same as subscription services, okay?
Right.
Subscriptions, libraries, all of this. Your goal is to create multiple streams of revenue, okay?
Right.
with the same product. So you've created this product. It's the book. You make it available as an ebook, a print book, and an audiobook. That's 3 types of revenue there. That's 3 different types of readers. Yeah. You create, you put that ebook in subscription services and libraries and, whatever else, comes along.
In your store sites, exactly.
Now you've got, you can actually potentially, you could triple the number of marketplaces because, libraries will do paperback and hardcover. They'll also do audiobook. There's subscription services like is Overdrive a subscription service? Or is it just
yes? Well, the Libby app,
Libby.
the Libby app,
Libby, yeah. And you've got all those apps that serve the library audience can serve both ebook and audiobook to that audience. And what you've got is the truth is you're not going to make as much money on each individual unit sold because they only pay a percentage of the cover price, or they have rates, or they have some click model or something like that. But you capture revenue that you would absolutely not get otherwise. So that's the idea. We as authors get a little hung up on, I got to sell, 1 million copies of my book in order to succeed. You don't. You can. Why not make money from somebody who's just casually browsing? They read 50%. You get paid for that 50%. In these subscription models or in these, library models, So anyway, we've got a couple. Let's talk a little bit. Let's loop back on because I'm seeing some stuff pop up, but I need a gap so that I can grab it. But let's talk about subscription services a little more. So what? Jim, you are using Scribd. Are you also using like Kobo Plus or any of this?
Yeah, well, I haven't tried out Kobo Plus yet, but I've got Libby on my phone. I've got Libby, Hoopla, Scribd, Palace Marketplace, which is a new.
That's one of our new ones, yeah.
Yeah, new library marketplace, and it's really cool. It's a great app. From a reader's perspective, if there's a brand new book I want, chances are if I go into one of the library apps like Libby, there's a bunch of people who want to read that book too. So there's going to be a hold. There's going to be a wait. I always put books that I want on holds. And then you just kind of forget about it for a couple of weeks. And then poof, it's like Christmas when that book arrives. You get an alert and you get to go enjoy your book. But a lot of times, if you guys are on Scribd too, you might agree with this. A lot of times I'll check Hoopla. I'll check Libby. There's a book that I want, whether it's an ebook or an audiobook, and it's not there. And I'll go into Scribd and there it is.
Yep.
And then I'm like,
yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's what we want authors to take from this, by the way. That's the reader experience is that, and it has those perks and benefits for the reader. And that makes it much more likely, like, people can stumble upon your book a lot easier in these services. That's one of the reasons you would want to utilize it. Because they have their recommendation engines. They have, they know what you're reading and what you like. They know, they can track. Actually, there's some data that I'd love to get my hands on, really, but like they know when you left a book. When did you stop reading that book? And they know, and they prompt you. It'll prompt that reader to go back and finish that book. Well, that benefits you, especially if you haven't read to the 20%. I think that's probably a key. I don't have proof of this, but I think Scribd does that. If you didn't finish reading to 20%, it starts kind of nudging you to go back and try that book again, which is good because that's when you get paid.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing Jim say though is, as he is a subscriber or a library user, so he's going to this library app, this subscription service, this subscription service. What he never said is he goes to Amazon.com and tries to buy the ebook. And that's because these are different readers. These are different users.
Right.
This is what he does when he wants to read his ebooks. Whereas I like print books. I've got a terrible habit of buying print, and I'm constantly looking when I see something. And my first thought is it in print? I need a copy. I need a copy in my hand. I share with my family. We pass books amongst one another. You've got to read this author. This author is wonderful. And so I tend to lean towards print, even though I work in the ebook business. And I have hundreds of ebooks on my devices, but I don't automatically think, oh, I should check the library. I have those, but that's not the type of buyer that I am.
Yeah.
You're reaching a different demographic of readers.
Yeah.
So that's why you want to have your book in all of those different services so that you can get the print buyers and you can get the ebook buyers and you can get the subscribers.
Yeah. I just want to call you out though, because you said you had a quote bad habit of reading print. And that is not a bad habit. That is and I don't want any authors thinking that one format is preferable to another with readers, because readers, everyone's got their thing. But that it makes a very good point. There are readers who only want to read print.
Absolutely.
So if you are not putting your books in print, and now we have, D2D print is your easy option now to get your books into print. We can even just we can convert your ebook to a print book. Like we have all these tools that do that. Listen to me I'm going off into my pitch. But
and I'm one of those nerds who will read a book as an ebook or listen to it as an audiobook and then go buy the print version if I want to.
Exactly. That's the other side of it. So the thing about print as a in addition to your marketing, your author marketing strategy, like having that as part of your offering, is there, one, you capture readers who only read in print. Two, there are a lot of us out there, Jim, not just you, but me as well. Just me. When I read a book that I really love, the souvenir instinct kicks in, and I go buy that physical book.
Me too.
Yeah. So yeah, you're not. There's nothing wrong with that.
Have like a record of it for some reason. I have it on my Kindle. I have it on my Kobo, but I gotta have
it needs some shelf space.
I get all the formats. If I really love a book, I get all the formats.
Do you see what Alyssa just said? She keeps print books like trophies.
Yes.
I'm the exact same way.
Yeah, I shove them on a spike, hang them out to warn the other books. Here's a question regarding audio. This is our new program that we're in partnership with Apple. But how do we get our romance books into Apple through D2D, which was announced a month or so ago?
Okay, so what you want to know is that book must be live in digital format, either through Apple directly or through Draft to Digital. That's how you get there. So that's step one. Step two, it's a very limited number of BISACs currently. They are actively working on adding so many new features, so many new narration voices. So just be patient, but it's a limited set of BISACs right now. They're mostly looking at women's fiction romances. They're not doing box sets. They've had a little bit of trouble getting the AI narration to handle the in matter of one book and then flow easily into the next book in a box set. So we're not looking at box sets, and we're currently only looking at English language books. But again, Apple is telling us constantly that they are actively building more options, more features, more voices. So stay tuned. If your book does not qualify yet, it will very soon.
Yeah.
When you come on to Draft to Digital site, there is a button. You can click on My Books, Add New Book, and then there's a button in there that is Start an Audiobook. If you click on that and you have eligible books, you will be shown that. If you do not have eligible books, you will be shown the reason why, like it's an anthology or a box set, or like it's in Spanish language, or it's in nonfiction and that's not currently being offered. So just be patient. Apple's really only looking to do these, to create these once. So it's kind of a one and done situation unless something changes. So it's not a bad thing to wait a little bit longer to get your book into the auto, because you're going to have more features available to you. I have seen a couple of different posts about some new narration voices. So I know it's actively being built. So just keep your eye out, and your BISAC should be included soon. the AI wasn't fantastic with like make-believe words. So like fantasy and sci-fi where you're world building and these are not words in the English language, you're creating, concepts and things like that, didn't do great. So they are still refining their tools and making it better and better. So just keep an eye out. It'll be available soon if it's not in your genre yet.
I want to pop up. We're running out of time. I'm going to pop up this last comment because I really like it from author K Parquet. Ada, awareness, interest, desire, and action is what I've been told to use as a template for marketing, and I think that's an excellent template. So, Kay, I really appreciate that. So, AIDA, Ada. That's how I choose to pronounce that. Awareness, interest, desire, action. Those are the things you want to entice in your reader and to reach them. So, okay, well, that is going to wrap us up. This has been a good one. I'm glad we had a chance to talk to everybody. These subscription-based services, I think, are they're a sneaky little additional revenue source for authors. And I really think that if you embrace them as part of your strategy, and you can wait it out, be patient, because it's not an immediate thing, but the more places you have for readers to discover you, the better. And this is a pretty good one, and they are constantly working to improve these things. Kobo Plus has added half a dozen new marketplaces over the past 2 years, so I look for that to continue to grow. Now that they're in the US and the UK, those are two major pockets of English reading audiences. So I am going to be watching this very closely on my side to see how that does. So thank you to Jim and Tara for being a part of today's episode. I'm really glad everyone was able to make it. And thank you for helping me with answering questions and the like. To everyone out there, make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. So that we can, all that love you give us goes out into the world. So help us put more love out in the universe, and make sure you bookmark d2dlive.com so that you'll be able to see the little countdown to whenever we're doing new episodes, new shows. There's a lot of changes coming. A lot of things are going to be happening over the next, the rest of this year, 2023. I'm kind of excited about some of the stuff that's going to start showing up. So you're going to want to tune in and be a part of that. And as we roll out, everybody, we want to, this little commercial spot is all for you to tell you a little bit more about D2D Print, and then we'll be logging off and see you next time. So take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Ebooks are great, but there's just something about having your words in print. Something you can hold in your hands, put on a shelf, sign for a reader. That's why we created D2D Print, a print-on-demand service that was built for you. We have free, beautiful templates to give your book a pro look, and we can even convert your ebook cover into a full wraparound cover for print. So many options for you and your books. And you can get started right now at draftedigital.com.